When Stephen first asked me about speaking on Pride Sunday, my initial reaction was one of fear. Firstly, I don't do public speaking. I address the masses through song. I found myself wondering, did he consider the fact that I am not fit to be speaking to large groups of people? Surely Dan must have mentioned this at some staff meeting. Moving beyond that, my second fear was one of othering. I live in a space of privilege where not all of my differences are apparent to the unconscious biases of the average observer. This means that I can fly under the radar as people make their assumptions. And it also means that I'm often subjected to the judgments and prejudices of those who choose to label by what they perceive me to be at first glance. In spite of this privilege, my reality is living every day at the intersection of many minority groups. I am a cis woman. I am Indigenous. I am Black. I am queer. I stand strong in the diversity of my existence, and I recognize the privilege of feeling comfortable enough to openly do so. So when Stephen suggested that I speak about diversity and what pride means to me, I did some reflecting on finding that comfort and what it took to undo the societal teachings that told me that there was a limited number of ways in which I was allowed to exist and to love. I grew up in a small town called Bowmanville, about an hour east of Toronto. It's little, it's quaint, it was a really cute place to live, but it wasn't vibrant when it came to diversity. I attended a high school of around 1,500 students, and of those 1,500, only a handful of us were a visible minority. When it came to students who were openly non-heterosexual, the numbers were fewer. Now, growing up in that environment was enriching in many ways. I attribute my strong foundation in music to the wonderful teachers of Bowmanville High School. But as a young person who didn't quite fit the mold, there were few resources to help me understand my differences. I knew that I was a young woman. I knew that I was Afro-Indigenous. But in a time when either or was the only option, I didn't know which to choose. The same applied when asked if I was bisexual or lesbian. I knew that I didn't fit squarely into any of the letters of representation laid out in the LGBT acronym as it existed in my youth. But I also knew that the checkbox of straight or heterosexual didn't apply to me, but I didn't yet have the language for or understanding of pansexuality. In all this murkiness of not fitting, I had a knowledge deep within me, a knowing that there was a bigger picture view than all these checkboxes, a way of being and existing that transcended race, gender, sex, and sexuality. Love. When I say love, we all have our own internal response to that word. It's a word that gets thrown around a lot and to varying degrees of meaning and intensity. When someone expresses their feelings toward a partner, they might use the word love. At the same time, many of us will use that same word to describe our feelings towards our favorite book or food. Now, I don't bring this up to negate our deep feelings towards the inanimate. I myself have declared on more than one occasion that I love broccoli. The reason I do bring up this word is for it to act as an entry point as we consider what love might be. Recently, I took Tyler, my 5-year-old, to the library, and we borrowed a book entitled What is Love by Mac Barnett. In this book, the main character asks a family member the question, what is love? The family member says they can't answer that question for them, but encourages them to go out into the world and seek the answer for themselves. While out in the world, the main character happens upon many other characters. Each one has their own definition of what love is. At the end of the story, the main character returns to the comfort and familiarity of family and home, confident in knowing that they now know what love is. This book beautifully illustrated the varying ways people experience love. No two were alike. My favorite thing about the book was that the character does not explain what love is to them. When they're asked on the last page if they found the answer to their question, they simply smile and say yes. I found this to be such a wonderful way to demonstrate the fact that we do not owe anyone an explanation on what love means to us. Whether or not it was the author's intention, I feel like this book in its entirety is an illustration of the diversity of love. To know what love is personal. In the same way that we are all uniquely individual, how we love as individuals is also unique. There are numerous personality quizzes, astrological charts, books on love languages that exist today, all designed to help us understand ourselves and how to love one another. And while this is beautiful, I've often found that I felt like my individuality was being stripped away so I could fit into a box. I don't know about you, but when I've read some of these books or completed a quiz, there was never a perfect fit. There were always a few points that didn't quite align with myself. At first, this misalignment was concerning to me. Still seeped in the box-fitting requirements of my youth, to not fit squarely into any of the outlined result categories was a reminder of that feeling that I didn't quite belong. But stepping back, I realized that beautiful reality of our individuality is that none of us fit into a box. Any of us. We're all like grains of sand, sparkling, colorful, a little rough around the edges, and totally unique. No two are exactly alike. And just as ourselves are unique, so is our love. Love is the greatest gift we can give and receive in this life. It exists endlessly and requires no definition or restriction, no boundaries or exceptions. We all have the capacity to love unboundedly if we can move past our preconceived notions and definitions. I read a poem recently that hypothesized what love could be, with the poet ending at a place of hope, where love simply is, given, not earned. Soft, not something that wounds. Home, not a place we feel we have to run or hide from. As humans, we have this desire to dissect and define. That way of existing has aided us in many advancements as a people. However, it seems to me that this way of thinking, when it comes to the vastness of the diversity of love, can be both limiting and divisive. This tendency to dissect and define often leads to a place of singularity, where only one preconceived truth exists. But how can that be applied to love when our expression and receipt of love is a representation of our own individuality? The infinite possibilities in the beauty of our uniqueness means that there must be space for many truths. And those truths, like a mosaic, make up one truth that is the diversity of love. So perhaps instead of trying to define love, and in doing so, putting up walls and othering, we need to understand the vastness of what love can be, the vastness of how you experience love, and the vastness of your neighbor's love, accepting that the one person may express or understand it differently than you. Both are love, wholly and completely, and there is space for all love to exist as one. A beautiful mosaic illuminating the many hues of our existence, a rainbow of diversity. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I address the masses through song. So when Stephen and I were chatting about the possibility of me speaking today, the song Somewhere Over the Rainbow immediately popped into my head. Partially because the choir has sung arrangements of this in the past on Pride Sunday, but more so because at its core, it's a song that talks about the belief in something better, something richer and more beautiful. And that's my hope for us, our community here at Redeemer, but really my hope for our world, that we will all continue to believe and to strive for a world that is richer and more beautiful because of our unbounded love, that we won't allow ourselves to be limited by any one idea of what love is, that we will learn that our individuality is to be celebrated through the diversity of love, and that our love in all its forms can overcome this epidemic of hate and guide us to a place where we can all exist together fully and freely. And so to illustrate that hope and to manage my fear of public speaking, I wrote an arrangement of Somewhere Over the Rainbow while taking some liberties with the lyrics. Someday the fear and doubt will cease. I'll wake up and the hate will be behind me. Division gone and love abound, humanity on solid ground, just as it should be. Somewhere over the rainbow lives the truth. Love each other wholly as we're meant to do.